Hello all. So I thought I'd give you a very quick heads up in terms of proceedings if you're thinking of going to see the Queen lying in state, because there's a lot of unknowns, of course. Today was the first day, so people not really knowing what to expect in terms of the queuing, how the system works. I know several people didn't know about the wristband, so I thought I'd just give you a very quick run through to let you know what to expect. First thing, there will be queuing and a lot of it. So this is just one of the views as we move from place to place. So this was when we were starting to really get moving and feeling as though we were getting closer, walking along the bridge and being able to see everything in the distance. So lots of queuing, lots of walking. Let's see, what do we have next? Now, when you actually think you're nearly there, and you're coming to the end of a queue, there's another little bit. Now, half of it was empty because we were one of the first groups of people to go in to see the Queen lying in state. But I'm suspecting definitely at the weekend, the empty bit that you can see here, and it's a kind of zigzag snake system. So you queue and then you turn and then you queue and then you turn, then you queue and then you turn, then you queue and you turn. And that's probably a couple of miles worth actually. If it doesn't feel that long because you're constantly, weaving in and out, but that whole bit probably 7. I think we got there around 7. I always think of Lane Goodman when I say that. We got there around 7, and we got into the hall at 9:30. So just to kind of put that into context, because you get to that point where you finally arrive on the grounds of Westminster Hall, you kind of go, oh, we're there. And then you go in, and you're like, whoa. So there's a fair bit of queuing to be done. In terms of, this is kind of the view from in there as it got busier. So we went in daylight, we were still there at dusk. So that's again what you can expect. And I'm sure, as I said, because we were one of the first groups, now it's going to be open for 24 hours. Today it opened at 5 p.m. I'm guessing that's going to be constantly busy rather than half empty, which it was when we walked in. This is just kind of another view, so you can maybe now get a better sense of how the queuing system works. With regards to shoes, because I was thinking, gosh, it's going to be probably quite a muddy day, they've got rubber down. So it's actually quite comfortable to walk on. It's actually got quite a nice bounce to it. But of course, wear comfortable shoes. That kind of goes without saying. And this is another of the shots just to give you a sense of the scale and the number of people that you can expect along the way. Now, what was very unexpected, because there are no cameras allowed, also, if you use lip gloss style lipstick, do not take your favorite one, your very special one that you save for your webinars that cost £29, because they're going to throw that in the bin. So what they deem to be liquid, anything that you have to put on with a brush like that, that will be thrown in the bin. Despite your forlorn looking face, of course, a bit like going through an airport security, no liquids, no open food. Now, the question with regards to food, you can eat on the way there, but it's as you then start to get into the perimeter of the hall, they've got people there with great big refuse sacks. There are dustbins along the way, great big green bins as well. So you really have to throw away any open food. Any liquids, you have to drain all of those away. So if you're someone, let's say, who has your own water bottle, you just got to make sure that it's empty. So do keep that in mind as well, in terms of only taking things with you that are liquid. Oh, you had to also hand in hand sanitizers as well, and a lot of people had those. One of the people I was with, she's like, oh my god, this was such expensive hand sanitizer. So they actually put it all on the side, and they were saying to people, if you want to use some before you go in, ta-da, here's our collection. But that, because it's in liquid form, will be taken away from you as well. We did actually see some of those big, like the golfing umbrellas with the rounded, well, not the golf umbrellas have a straight handle, but the big umbrellas with the rounded, we saw a lot of those that have been confiscated as well. Not quite sure why, but do also keep that in mind. Again, we haven't quite gotten to the bottom of that one. So, but just consider it, it's like airport style security. Now, something that was very surprising is about the wristbands, and people are like, well, how is that going to work? So this is one of the coveted wristbands, and when you join the queue, so this morning I decided I want to see if I could do a double header and go to the procession and also go and see the Queen lying in state. So I decided I'd go and try and get a wristband first, because you can leave the queue to go to the bathroom to get some food, but that's not quite the way it works. So you're not going to have that dilemma anyway, because the main events are over until Monday. But you have to find the end of the queue, which we walked for a few miles before we found it. We get to a point where there's a break and we go, "Are you the end of the queue?" And then they go, and it goes round another corner, and then "Are you the end of the queue?" Goes around another corner. So when you finally get to the end of the queue, there was a feeling of just such relief, like, yes, even though we realized we'd walked for miles. And then eventually some of the staff come along and they will issue you with your wristband, which, if any of you have been out clubbing, etc., you know you have to have it on at all times. We saw a couple of people who sort of ended up in the crowd, but when it came time to show the wristband, they didn't have one, so they were turfed out. So it's the, if you've been out clubbing or to an event, it's the one that we put it on with your sticky, so you've got to have that on show at all times. Just make it easy for yourself. If you're wearing long sleeves, roll the sleeves up, because somebody, if they can't see that wristband, they're going to be, as my friend used to say, on it like a car bonnet. So just make it easy for yourself, make it easy for everyone else. Make sure you have that on show. Now, there are no photographs allowed, so you turn off your cameras before you get into the space. I came out of the event, and Roxanne Sinclair, now this is from Alexa. Alexa, she said, "I was watching the news and I thought I saw someone that looked like you." And so she sent me the picture. "Is that you?" "Yes, it is." So that's me at the coffin. And this one is a bit clearer. Now, at first glance, because I'd sent this to a friend of mine saying, "Do you see anyone you recognize?" And she's looking at the man and going, "Don't think I've seen him before." So I sent her one where I'd circled myself. But if you look very closely, not on the side that's nearest to the camera, but look at the other side, that person standing there is me. So this is from BBC News, and I didn't realize they were filming. I had other things to think about and other things to focus on at the time, but that it was really surprising, because I saw Roxanne. I was like, the signal's really bad all day. So I saw that Roxanne had sent me a picture. Couldn't quite see what of, because it hadn't fully downloaded. But when I got back to Euston Station, I opened the message again, and we're back in a signal area. And I was like, oh my God, that's me. So although no photographs are allowed, I do actually have a photograph of me paying my respects to Her Majesty the Queen. So there you have it. Now, in terms of queuing time, this is probably going to be deceptive, because as it says here, we were the first group of mourners. From the time we joined the end of the queue to the time we stepped into the hall was exactly 6 hours on the nose. I think we were very lucky, because we don't have the backlog yet, because it's now going to be open. Hi Alexa. We don't have the backlog. It's going to be open 24 hours a day. At one point, initially, they said it's going to be 23 hours, but I think they've revised that now. So as things move on, like somebody said, what was the queue like when you left? We can't tell, because you come out a different way. So unless you went all the way back along the route, you wouldn't see. But we know from just the points where we could turn the corner and we could then have a view, it was growing all the time. So 6 hours is probably a very lucky estimate for those of us who were there first. I'm guessing you could put several hours onto that now, thankfully, because if you've been watching the news, it was saying about 30 hours, 30. So I'd say we got off lucky. We're 1/5 of the time in 6 hours. I think as it gets busier, you can expect more time. But my suggestion would, and there are toilets. Somebody was asking me about toilets. There are toilets along the route, but the majority of the toilets, in terms of having them in a kind of set space, is once you actually get into the grounds, the toilets are all along. So where I showed you the picture where we're zigzagging, at that far end, the toilets are just lined up, actually, and a little bit too close to the queues, because some of them smell a bit fruity, shall we say, a bit raw. But yes, so there are toilets there if you did need to go. There are where you're the route that you're queuing along. At one point, you're by the Globe Theatre, South Bank, etc. There are lots of food stalls, food markets. I had an ice cream. I do like an ice cream on a summer's day. So you will be able to buy things along the way. And if you're with a group of people, so when I said I'm going to buy an ice cream, you better let me back in. So if you're with a group of people, or you just sort of say to the person that you're queuing with, I'm just going to pop there. As long as the queue hasn't moved too far, you can insert yourself back into it. So that's just a little bit of a heads up in terms of what to expect. And as I said, I think the timescales are probably going to increase as we get busier. I'm guessing the busiest days will be Saturday and Sunday. And I believe, does it close at 6:30 on Monday morning, something like that? But yeah, there you have it. A little quick summary of what to expect. When you go along, and once you get into the hall, you then go in single file. So you know, there's not nobody sort of going, oi, it's not like the Sandman comes and yanks you along, but you just use your own judgment in terms of, you know, moving to your position. So you're in front of the coffin, do whatever it is you need to do, and then you walk on and you exit the hall. So there you have it. If you are going along, then it's a lovely experience. If you're not, as I said, there's plenty of coverage on TV, apparently, so you can view it there. And yeah, rest in peace, Her Majesty the Queen. And now we have to get used to saying King Charles. So take a little bit of getting used to. 70 years is a long time to reign, but she most certainly did. Anyway, hope that you're all fit and healthy and well. Marilyn Devonish from transformationstm.com, over and out. And enjoy if you are going along, and make sure you keep well hydrated, have plenty to eat, and wear those comfortable shoes. I'll catch you all later.